are live. Can you
Are we live on both?
Yes.
Hi, everyone!
Hello.
It's Dawn and Stephanie here. So it's Stephanie from Lazy Parenting. We're going live on Facebook and on Instagram today to talk. I thought it would be timely to talk about report cards because we all just got our report cards. Not about what our kids got out of the report cards, but just about report cards and yeah, struggles, any conversations around report cards and how to handle report cards. Do you have any comments, Dawn?
Not yet. Not yet. You start.
So report cards. I don't know if we talked about this on the last one, about talking about paying for grades.
I feel like we talked about it at some point, but that's the first thing that came to my mind was about getting rewarded for grades. Not my family, but I heard it on the playground the other day when the report cards came home. A kid was running up to their mom saying that they got an exceeding, because we don't get letter grades yet in our city.
Yeah.
And that they were going to get $5 for each exceeding.
Yeah, I mentioned it to my son. I was driving my son in the car, and I said that we were going to talk about paying for grades. He's like, yeah, you should pay for grades. And I said...
Is this your older son?
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, well, yeah, you think so, but no, I don't pay for grades. And he goes, but it's like work. We should get paid for working. And I go, no, your job is just to go to school and get good grades, but you don't get paid until you get a real job.
Right.
And so I know my mom always wanted to give them money, and he said that she gave them $2, but just for the report card.
Oh.
And I think she did that because I told her she wasn't allowed to pay them for grades, and so I said, well, no, you can't do that. And so she just kind of slipped them a couple of bucks, just because she could, and without probably telling them not to tell me, because that's what grandmas do.
Yes.
And when I'm a grandma, I'll probably do the same thing one day. Right? Do all the things that my daughter doesn't want me to do, or son doesn't want me to do with the kids.
Right.
So report cards, in regards to what do you focus on? So we had a conversation, and I don't think it was on Instagram Live, about where you start and where you finish.
Right.
And we were talking about the importance that some families put on what letter grade they get, or what percent that they get, and how hard it is to perhaps look at it, parenting, in a different way than we were parented as children ourselves. So when we were little, we got grades, and then part of the new thing was when we had kids, right, they don't get letter grades, but we got letter grades in grade 1, I'm sure.
You mean back in our day?
Back when we were little.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't remember.
And so I remember when my kids were little that it was weird, right, because they get in Canada, I don't know how it works in the States, but they get I just want to make sure we're good to go here. Yes. Okay. In Canada, when they're in elementary school, well, in B.C. actually, I don't know if it's the same across Canada, all the way across, but in British Columbia, they get a 4-point scale. So they're either not yet meeting expectations, approaching expectations, meeting expectations, or exceeding expectations. And when my oldest was little, I remember hearing that, most teachers don't really give out exceeding expectations, that most of them just give out meeting expectations, and then the other two as well, as an indicator if your child is struggling in something, needs some extra help, as an alert to the parents with all of that. So I went through elementary school. That was pretty basic.
Yes.
Has any of that been hard for you?
No, it doesn't matter to me, I don't mind that over the letter grades. The only thing is that if that the meeting expectations, because in my head a grade makes sense. I know that if it's a C, because that's how I grew up, I understand how that matches. If I got an A in something, then I'm doing really well. B is I'm still doing really well in my own mind. C+ was still okay back for me. And then C and kind of below there was a problem. Whereas meeting expectations, my daughter could get meeting expectations and still get a C. Because we get final letter grades for the final report card.
No, she shouldn't be getting a C if
right,
she gets meeting expectations. She did?
Yeah, for French.
Yeah,
and that doesn't make sense to me.
So my kids kind of think of it, and as a teacher, because I used to be a high school teacher, and I was really into rubrics and how rubrics work. And so for me, the meeting expectations was more of a B, exceeding was kind of an A.
Yes.
Right? A 4-point scale.
Right.
So 3 out of 4, I don't know what percent that is.
75%.
75%, that's a B, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
again, but kind of moving out of that. Yeah, that's a tough one. If you were getting like meeting all year with your kid, and then all of a sudden they bring home a report card and it has a C on it.
Right, because like she had meeting expectations, and she got the final report card was anywhere from A's. She had A's, she had B's, and then she got a C in one specific subject. And so, but getting meeting all year, like that throws my.
Was there any feedback that she was getting?
Not on the final report card.
No, but in the year, like in the meetings, like when she was getting meeting, was there feedback that maybe identified that she would be getting a C?
Well, I honestly thought she was going to get a C in everything. So, because our last year, my daughter's teacher was great about telling us the things she needed to work on top of whatever she was doing well. So she firmly believed, the teacher, which she has the same teacher this year, that there's always things you can work on.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
I have that on my kids' report cards too, though, right? Like it says that her goal, but in our school they work really well with. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment from. I think that's Sharon.
Oh yeah.
Got distracted. Sorry.
Your teachers at your school.
My teachers at the school and where we live, they make the kids pick their goals on what they can work on for the next report card. So it says Katie's goals are to.
Yes.
Whatever Katie's goals are.
My kids.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily say anything about what the teachers think they need to work on. It just says, like, let's say there's it's a B, and it's like, Katie has a good understanding of math concepts or how to add integers, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't say what she needs to work on. I don't think I've ever had a comment like that.
Oh, yeah, no, ours has 3 or 4 comments on what they can do, and then underneath is as a report card itself, it says what can they work on, and then the teacher lists things they can work on for future.
So even in our province, there's like very different report cards depending on where you live. Like that gives you way more feedback than my report cards are like lame. Like they really don't, other than
maybe your kids have nothing to work on.
No, they're just, and then in high school it's even worse. There's like a 1 sentence, and I remember that as a high school teacher, it was really hard to find comments. Because it's computerized comments, you don't write your own comments.
Select it.
And you just select it. So I had a couple teachers actually who went out, I can tell by their comments that they went out of their way to find what they thought was like a productive comment or something, or a nice comment about a child or something like that. And so if you were all of a sudden slammed with a not yet, like with a C or a C minus or something you weren't expecting, or that can be a challenge, especially if you didn't know where they were at with it on the way towards the end. Yeah. It's
weird. That's why I do like the letter grades over the new way of report cards, just because it makes sense in my head. And getting a meeting can't equal 3 different grade levels in my opinion.
So I'm going to tell you a story. I don't think I told you this story, and I don't know if you remember this story from back when my oldest was little, because she was our first. And so we were probably the most, about school, because she was a pretty good student as well. And so it was more about, like, she would get things on her report card, but when she went into grade 4, that's when here locally you start getting letter grades. You don't get the meeting exceeding expectations. And so she was jumping from these comments report cards to a letter grade report card, and we actually requested that she didn't have any letter grades put on
I do remember that. I do.
Because we were really conscious about, for her, so if you have, and I think the same would work if you had a child who was struggling as well. And this is where we had a conversation. So if you can think about it, this would be my recommendation, but just my recommendation. If you can try to get away from concentrating on what the final letter grade is, because ultimately that tells you nothing. So I'll use it both ways. If you have a student who starts the year, and this is, in elementary school, this is a little bit, I think, easier to understand. But let's say you have a kid who's really good in math and is going into grade 3. But already knows all of the grade 3 curriculum because they just kind of know it. And so they're starting the year out at an A. They go through the year and they end with an A. But they didn't actually learn anything new. Like, they weren't challenged. They didn't, like, there was no expansion of their knowledge, no new concepts, no enrichment, no nothing. Like, that was a waste of a year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of where we were at a little bit with our first. Like, we knew she kind of knew stuff, and so it was more having conversations with their teacher and the child, more importantly. Like, what did she feel like she learned anything that year? Because when I was in school, one of my big things was I loved math, and then all of a sudden I started not hating math, but like it wasn't fun anymore because I wasn't learning anything really.
Right, if you're just doing the worksheets over and over and over again, of things you already know.
Right, like don't you want your children to go through school wanting to learn?
Yes.
Like you want them to solve problems. You want them to have those skills where they can actually think about, like, you want the skills that they can solve problems, they can find the answers to themselves, they can learn the knowledge on their own, right? Like there's no reason people shouldn't know anything anymore.
No.
There's Google.
No.
We live in the world of the internet. Like if you don't know how to do something, you can Google it. You don't know how to start a business. You don't know how to start a podcast. You don't know how to change the oil in your car. You don't know how to change a tire. You don't know how to fix your fridge. Like literally you can go onto Google. How do you build a couch? That's what I did. I had to rebuild a couch in the staff room. I went onto Google and I Googled IKEA couch, how to build it.
Yeah.
And I built it without any instructions. Like there's no reason not to know anything. So knowledge in and of itself isn't really what I'm looking at. That's a separate topic.
Yeah.
But I want the kids to want to know how to learn or want to see growth or how do they get through that.
Yeah.
And so that was the conversation we had about them not getting grade. Not getting a letter grade was that I don't care if she starts at an A and she ends at an A. And I mean, we went in and had this discussion. She had a great teacher in grade 4 who understood that and really worked with us. So literally she just like didn't put the letter grade in. I mean, the office had letter grades, but the report card that came home for her didn't have any letter grades. I think that lasted a year. And then it was like, whatever.
Right.
But then we tried to keep having those conversations.
Yeah. And I think that you, I feel, are different because you were a teacher.
Yeah.
So you have all this hindsight to know these things where the average mom like myself doesn't necessarily know what we can ask for or what we can expect from the school. And so the important part about what you said is that speaking with your teacher and speaking with your child to know this. Like if you are a parent that doesn't do, when you talked about going to meet the teacher nights, like that's a jumping off point.
And I swear to God, I helped my son get 5% extra in his social studies grade because I went to the teacher at the teacher night, found out the grade he was getting. He was getting a C+. I was not happy about that, and I said to the teacher, he is not a C+ student. He ended up with a B. Right. Not because of that, but he also did work, and we had this conversation, but the teacher then started getting on his case about doing a better job, and so that's kind of funny because he is like, oh, she doesn't like me, she hates me. I'm like, no, she has a high, like, her saying to you, you can do better is what I want the teacher saying to you. Right. I don't want the teacher to look at you and go, oh, he's a C student. Yeah. Right. Like, no, this isn't good enough. Do better. Yeah. Anyways, but so it worked. Go to parent-teacher conferences. I truly believe it works.
Yes.
So about the grades and so this is a good part too, because I think one of the things that Dawn and I can offer people is this perspective, right? For me, as my experience as a teacher, to you not having any experience in schools and not knowing that you can do some of these things. Right. And I think sometimes you look at some of the things I've done and you're like, what the hell? Like, why would you think of doing that? Or,
right, yes, I have no idea how, and that, I just think of all the moms who don't have someone like you to bounce off their ideas or struggles, that they are suffering, for lack of a better word, needlessly. Like,
right. So you should ask me questions because I can help you out.
Right. Right. So yesterday I talked to Steph about my middle child's report card. Was all either approaching or not yet meeting. Nothing was meeting. And it's because he struggles, in my own mind, with anxiety, and he's a fixed mindset, so he has negative self-talk. He thinks he can't do anything, so he doesn't even try. And I don't think it's because he's not capable. I fully think that he is smart and he can do the things that's asked, but for him to do it is hard to take that step to do the writing, to have work, to hand in. He did his FSA, and I looked at the book. There was nothing in the book.
Okay, so FSAs here in B.C., and I don't even know if it's a Canadian-wide thing or not. Idea. In grade 4 and in grade 7, the kids, you can opt out of it if you want.
And I have in the past, but this year I was like, oh, it's too much work.
So they spend about 2 weeks, I feel like it was, within the classroom. They get pulled out for an hour, not pulled out, the whole class does it, for an hour here, an hour there, and you do, it's like a province-wide assessment on reading, writing, and numeracy.
Yeah.
And then we as parents actually get their notebook back. It's marked by teachers. Actually, I don't know which teachers mark it. I feel like it's a committee of
So it's
teachers.
not the teachers in their school.
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I
don't know for sure.
Don't know that for sure. I know provincial exams are marked by a committee
Yeah.
of teachers within the province when they have those. Like they go and sit down and do all this marking.
Oh,
FSAs, maybe not though, right? Because the turnaround is pretty quick.
Yes.
Like we get them back pretty fast. So then we actually, as parents, get this notebook back, and it's graded on a 4-point scale again, and then but it's actually their writing. Like it's not just a grade. Like I can read what Katie wrote or Zach wrote in the actual books, and so. Go ahead. I just wanted to clarify what an FSA was.
Right. And then they rank your school according to your students' marks of the school on how great of a school it is out of the whole province based on how well the kids in your grade did.
Yeah. But did you say what's more funny when you opened up the FSA package?
When I opened it up, there was nothing written. I don't think he answered any question. There were some scribbles. And so I read the questions. And yes, my child's in French immersion, so I was worried that he was doing a English test for the first time. What the heck is going on?
I know, I just messed up the...
Okay.
I'm hoping that on Facebook we didn't get...
Deleted.
Oh, we might be.
We might be.
Sorry, one moment. It might be 2 parts.
Maybe 2 parts.
It might only be 1 part.
Okay.
If you're coming on late... Oh, wait.
There. Oh, jeez Louise.
All right, well, we're off on Facebook, so
Yeah,
see, this is
work.
why you should be watching us on Instagram.
Right.
It's easier.
Yes.
All right, so that's not going to work.
Okay.
Done. Facebook is over.
Yeah, so anyways, there's nothing in this book. And so I read the questions, and even, like, the math part, like, for sure he knows. But he couldn't write anything down. And so I'm frustrated as a parent that he is doing poorly, and
Well, he did poorly on that assessment.
oh yes, well just end his report card because I'm just frustrated that he is struggling. Not that the result. I'm just like my heart is hurting for him because he can't seem to make it past the one boundary, which is just doing some work. And the teachers have always said he takes him a long time to get to work. And even on his report card at the top part, right, because you're right, the kids get to write a little thing. And his first line said, "I'm easily distracted and I don't do my work." And I'm like, so he's almost labeled himself as I'm just too distracted, Mom. I can't do my work. And I feel like he's like, that's what he thinks now. Like, so he can't get out of that. So anyways, that's another story. So I was talking to you about it yesterday, and because I want to contact the school, but I also feel like it's not the school's responsibility to parent my kid. Like I don't know where the line is of what I can ask from the school, because he already gets help with the French EA, the assistant, and how much. And I know I try and work with him at home, but it's a fight every single night. And I don't expect them to fix it, but I just need some help. So I emailed the teacher and the EA teacher, and we have a meeting today at 3:15. So
that was my suggestion. So my suggestion to Dawn yesterday when we chatted about this was how to move forward to, and I don't know if all parents would do this, whether or not, I don't know what you were going to do or not going to do, and if talking to me helped at all or not, but I think it was a little bit of concern about who to contact within that story. Like, do you make an appointment with a teacher? I didn't know, or I forgot that he was already getting some help with out of the classroom help with here we call them EAs, educational assistants. So there is some support within elementary schools for kids that need a little bit of extra help with different things. So he was getting some French reading help. And so my suggestion to Dawn was to make sure she gets a meeting with both of those teachers in the room at the same time, because maybe what's happening is they're not communicating with each other very well. And I've seen that happen even on the other side, in the enrichment side, where the teacher who's working with a group of students to give them some enrichment opportunities isn't chatting with the teacher in the classroom, and there's no, what's that called? Like, no coherency between the two of them. Like, they're not working together. So maybe for Thomas, that he can get like if the EA is specifically working with like what is the greater issue? Okay, yeah, he might not be a really strong reader right now, but what is the biggest, like, it's like anything when you're learning something. If you think of it as pyramid, you can work at skills that you're lacking up here, but if you don't hit the fundamental piece that the child is missing, it doesn't matter all the little patching you do at the top of the, you know, if the bottom of the pyramid isn't solid in the foundations that he has. So for me, my suggestion is, and still is for you guys when you go in today to talk to the teachers, is I think the biggest piece is he doesn't know how to get what's in his head out onto whatever way the teacher wants to get that information out of him. And for parents, if you have a child, like Dawn was saying, she would chat with him at home about singing a French song or doing a play, and he can say the words. He knows how to converse in the French. He has that piece. He just doesn't know how to get what he knows out to the teacher. And that's fair enough. Like, it is the school's job and the teacher's job to work with you to figure that out. I mean, I would have students, when I was a high school teacher, I stopped requiring a way a project had to be presented. Like, I stopped saying it has to be an essay, it has to be a PowerPoint, it has to be like, I don't care how you present your knowledge to me, as long as I know what you know. Like, that's the goal. So how can you work with Thomas to figure out how to get what he knows? Sorry. That maybe that's the piece that the three of you can sit down and work on is, I know you said he has a essay to write.
Yes. He has to write a Christmas story.
And it's like the last week of school. When's it due?
Oh, I don't know. Probably last week. I don't know.
Oh, he should have already had done it.
I feel like he's had it at home for 2 weeks already. So at least for sure this week it's due. I have no idea.
Right. And so going into that meeting with the teacher, and really one of the other things we talked about was asking open-ended questions to the teacher, like, you know, what support is available for him. Asking if they agree that that's part of the struggle he's having is, do they know what he knows? Like, when they talk, like, because they would know more. You're a parent. You spend, like, a small amount of time with him working on his schoolwork. They're with him 6 hours, 7 hours a day. And so I would use this opportunity with the teachers just to ask questions about what they think is going on, and then asking what support is available within the school for him. That, you know, and then district-wide, is there help? And then what can you be doing with him at home? Because,
So I definitely was going to make an appointment. I just feel like I don't know what to say. And so that's just, like, that was my struggles. I don't know what to ask. And so you letting me know those things. I just feel like I don't want to ask too much because I don't want to be...
I would start always with asking for information. So if you have a child that's struggling, whether it's in preschool, whether it's in elementary school, whether it's in high school, the first step is when you're going into the meeting is say, you know, I got his report card. It's a bit concerning. Not even about the report card, but maybe even you focus around this essay he's supposed to write or whatever, but like asking questions about, well, what are you seeing in the classroom? How, like, where do you think his struggles are lying? Like, asking as many questions from the teachers. Because, and with that mind frame that they're the ones spending the most time with your child at that point. And so what can we do to fix that problem? But I think it's finding, again, hopefully you have a teacher who's on the same page, but that if you can go in as a parent and say, well, what's the fundamental issue that we need to fix first? So, okay, yeah, maybe his reading needs some work, but it's okay. But where is this ability, you know, what is the first thing to work on? And then can the teacher and the EA work together to do things like that? That would be my recommendation. Oh, I'm glad that you got a meeting. That's good.
I know he was emailing back within like an hour. So, and the struggle I find is that, like, every year, remember I said this to you in kindergarten. Oh, I think Thomas is gonna be, because all three of my kids struggle in school. And so I said to you, oh, Thomas, Thomas is not going to struggle like Riley has, my older daughter. He seems to get things right away. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, because it was a long, hard road with my daughter, and now things have settled out and things are going fairly okay in grade 7. But I was thinking, oh, Thomas, he's just going to be like an average student making his way through and being fine. And then each year it is getting worse. But the teachers are so like, oh no, we've seen this before. It's just the first term. You know, by the end of the school year, I'm sure we'll see improvement. And sure, there is improvement, but from going from grade 3 to grade 4, this improvement is not enough that he, to me, seems like a student, like a capable student. If he ends up in high school like this, he is going to quit school. Like, he will not make it through.
Yeah. So I think you have to advocate for your kids, for sure. I mean, and I've done that with my children as well, right? Like, not even on the other side necessarily, like, but with projects and stuff. Like, I have one child who, if you give him a topic of, okay, pick a topic on Egypt, which is a bit different than Thomas, but he'll like think of every possible thing around Egypt and want to tell you like everything, and will get bogged down on research on the computer and not be able to kind of like in that way not be able to give any information out, because his brain goes to like, I gotta talk about this and this and this and this. And so that was one of the goals with the classroom teacher that we worked on, is we need to give him a very narrow topic, help him figure out and learn how to do that. And it's been a process over 4 or 5 years that we've done that. Like, every year we work a little bit more. So he's in grade 4, so you still have time to really help with those issues. And the big one for me is helping him get started. Like, if you in this meeting today, if anything else from what we've talked about, help Thomas figure out, like, and the teacher and the EA, like, how to get started. So if he has to write a Christmas story, one of my suggestions was, can he write a picture first? Write a Christmas, like, write a picture of Christmas. Can he do that? Like, would he know how to start?
I don't know.
Right, like, and then, okay, so then we now have a picture. It doesn't have to be fancy, like, it's just a sketch. Now take that, now describe the picture, right, as a story. Or, like, what are all those kinds of strategies I hope that teachers have and are able to do, and you would think an EA would have those as well, to be able to, if it's an EA or it's not, is it?
So the French learning assistant.
Okay, so it's the teacher.
Yes, she is a teacher.
Yeah, not a parent helper.
No. Okay. No, she's a teacher.
Yeah.
Because she's also my friend.
Okay, so those would be my suggestions that way.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll see how the meeting goes today. And I just hope that what I'm thinking is actually what they're thinking. Because if we're on 2 totally different pages, then I'm worried that will be a crutch.
Well, be open to that too, though, because you may be seeing it in a different way at home than what they're seeing in the classroom. Yeah. But keep pushing. If they're looking at it superficially, like you just said, say, no, he'll be fine, or no. Say, well, no, I need to, like, and it might be like with this Christmas story, if he has a project that's due in a week, well, that's not good enough. Like, can we work on, in his agenda, he has to do one piece of it every single day. Yeah. And just, they should be able to accommodate that in schools. I really do believe it.
I hope so.
Yeah, like,
I like his teacher, so I have hope. Like, I have high, not expectations, but I feel like he's helpful, so I'm hoping that will work. And the learning assistant, she's new to the school because she replaced somebody that's been there for 30 years who was amazing, and so she seems to be, I feel like she'll be fine as well. So,
and then maybe it's even like, can you get another block with her a week, or which that is harder maybe, but even just communicating better, and what the time that he is with her, is it being utilized to what he needs the most?
Definitely.
Or are they just reading together for an hour?
And he doesn't need, because we can read at home.
Right. That's so you having that conversation with him. Maybe they don't know how much work you do with him at home on some of these topics. Right. And so that's where this conversation. So. Yes. So my thing with you guys all, thanks Sharon for saying this is a good discussion. I don't know, sometimes we ramble on and on and on. Yes. But it really, really is important. And I know lots of my followers here on Lazy Parenting have little ones. And so it starts in preschool, this discussion. And the discussion, if I were to summarize kind of what we talked about today, my biggest, like, as in pieces of information I can share with you and tips and tricks, it is around, when you're talking around school and learning, to really think about it as, where are they starting and where are they finishing? It doesn't matter where they start. If they start at a C and they get to a B, like, that
is
growth versus, staying at a C and finishing at a C, or starting at an A and coming down to a, like, it's about growth, and it's about that conversation with your kids as well. Like, not the focus on the percent or not the focus on the letter grade, but about what did they learn. Yeah. And then that's, to me, kind of the biggest piece, even as early as preschool, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. Like, what did you, like, always talking about what's the new things that you learned how to do. And it doesn't necessarily need to be content. It could be skills, like problem-solving skills. Like, they know how to go around the room and find the words to copy, to write out their spelling words, or to write a story, or things like that. Skill-based learning is really, really important, too.
That it is.
That's it, folks. That's what we got. We gotta go. We got other meetings coming on here, too. So, next week's Christmas. A week today.
I'm not ready.
Christmas Day. Yeah, neither am I. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll get on another time this week. We'll see. But thanks for joining us.
Okay.
See you later. Bye.